Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan having an interesting conversation with Quentin Tarantino and his friend Roger. I'm just gonna say Avery, maybe. Oh, maybe that's it. I learned English today. How about that? I'm trying. But interesting conversation. They talk a lot about movies, Quentin Tarantino, of course, but then they get into some talk about the January 6th protesters who are in jail right now. The reason they get into this is because Roger actually went to jail for manslaughter because he was in an accident and one of his passengers died. So very, very interesting guy, interesting podcast. Let's get right into it. And then after that, I'm going to be showing you exactly what Trump said in his most recent appearance on Meet the Press, where he talks about what he plans to do for January 6ers and who he thinks should actually be in jail instead of the protesters. Let's get into it.
Camp almost. And you're there and you're incarcerated, but it's a light incarceration almost. And I had access to a cell phone. And so I started tweeting, and these were the early days of Twitter.
Right.
And so I started tweeting, oh, they found Tar and so in Pudgy's cell, and they dragged him off. And they this happened over here. Oh, they so and so shanked so and so. Oh, they've rolled up so and so and taken him away. I was like tweeting this stuff, and this is the early days of Twitter. And Roger Ebert, who was like at that time the biggest on Twitter, was following me, and he put me on blast. Like he suddenly decided that he would tell and like all of a sudden one day overnight, like the story kind of went everywhere in the world.
He put you on blast in a positive way?
Well, he just told everybody that, this is happening. Somebody is Roger Avery, Academy Award winning writer, is tweeting from jail and tweeting from behind bars.
Did he have
at the time? Now it's like nothing. People do it all the time. People like I've got
Suge Knight's doing podcasts.
I've got a friend who's one of those January 6th guys, and he sends me like tweets all the time. Like
you got a friend who's a January 6th guy?
Though.
Yeah.
You got a friend who was a January 6th guy?
Well, he's still there. He's like hundreds of days in jail without any kind of without trial.
Without process.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be, is it?
It's not how it's supposed to be.
You're supposed to have a due process of some kind.
Well, especially when you watch the actual footage of how it went down.
Oh, I watched it live, and there was that guy, that Antifa guy, waving people in, like moving them in.
Yeah.
They were moving the blockade things. They were moving them out, and cops were waving people in. They were opening the doors for people.
I want you to think about it this way: in the most heavily armed nation the world has ever known, why would you have an insurrection with no guns?
You got to have guns. Machine guns.
Those guys weren't planning on an insurrection.
No.
And then you have the factor that there was agents in the crowd, and we don't know how many. There's government agents in the crowd that were inciting people to go in.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
And I want to know who that cop was who shot that woman.
Yeah.
What about that?
Yeah, the whole thing's crazy.
Yeah,
the whole thing's crazy. And then there's this thing that cops died. That no cops died that day. That's not true.
No.
The cop who died, he died of a stroke, and I believe it was a stroke or a heart attack. But
like everything, there's a lot of misinformation being given to us by the mainstream media.
But it gets attributed to it. Sort of like when anything happens to anyone 4 years after the vaccine, they attribute it to the. Oh, it was probably the vaccine.
Yeah.
Could have been the guy just had a heart attack. But this guy who was a cop, he did not die. He was not killed by the protesters. And you watch the video of the shaman dude with the buffalo hat. They're walking him around. The cops are guiding
they're showing him around. No,
they're guiding him. How would you ever think that is going to let you wind up in jail? How would you ever think that if you're an unsophisticated guy who was wearing face paint and you're kind of a kook, you think you're part of a movement, which is really scary. People get a part of a movement and we're all doing it, and then you've got literal government agents encouraging you to do it, moving barriers, letting you in. They were playing chess and these idiots were playing checkers, and they all got locked up.
Sense. Yeah,
because nobody was doing an insurrection. It wasn't an insurrection.
Yeah, you don't do an insurrection without weapons. The whole idea is crazy.
So there was no presumption that there was going to be any kind of that you were going to get thrown in jail for 1,000 days. And so my pal Jake Lang is he's been there forever, and every now and then I get a picture of him. Like he's been in look, I deserve to go to jail. That guy doesn't.
Right.
and most of those guys don't.
Yeah, I think it was a bad decision, certainly, to go into the Capitol. It was a bad decision to smash windows, but I want to know who was
People
doing
had been
it.
smashing things like for a
Right.
whole year before that.
Right. That's a very good point.
It's
Yeah.
like we were a culture of smashing things at that point.
It's also, as soon as you find out that there were government agents that may or may not have incited people to go in, the whole thing changes. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you there to serve and protect, or is there some other weird shit going on? Because it seems like there is, and no one wants to talk about it because you don't want to be that guy. But at a certain point in time, you should be that guy. You should go, what's going on, man?
There comes a point when men of good conscience must stand up and speak out against things that are obviously wrong.
Yeah.
And that is one of them, I think.
Yeah, that is one of them. It's a big one. It's a weird one. And, there's all this pushback about Trump getting into office because he said one of the first things he said was he was going to release all the January 6 prisoners. Like, how long do you think they should be in there for? Who's opposing this?
They should
Who's
at
opposing
least
this?
be going to trial.
Yes.
You should at least be going to trial.
Right.
It is unconscionable to hold somebody for over a year, 2 years now, or like.
Well,
two-
the thing, the government has always had a situation where, and we talked about when we did our episode on the Andersonville trial.
Yeah.
Is the one charge that the government can put against you where they don't need direct evidence is conspiracy.
Ooh.
If they arrest you for conspiracy, that means they don't have direct evidence, but they don't need direct evidence for conspiracy.
By the way, when I was
Like just
sorry.
one thing. That's how they got Manson.
Right.
oh yeah, that's true.
Right.
All right, because
Well, they knew what Manson had done because they were helping him.
Yeah. Well, I believe that too because
Did you ever read Chaos?
That the book's one of the best.
One of the
Believe me,
best
I read every
books ever.
Manson book that there possibly could read, and then I read that one. I throw the rest of them away in
Yeah.
the fucking trash.
Chaos is insane.
Chaos is just fantastic, and he helped me too because my first AD is a friend of his, Bill Clark.
Oh, wow.
And when I was writing the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book, I go deeper into the Manson stuff. And so I had a couple of little questions in my head that I always kind of wanted to know the answer to. So I got Tom's number and I called him up and I was able to ask him some really super direct questions that could really help my book.
It's a crazy f***ing story, man.
Oh, it's
When I was in jail, I found out they record everything. They're just constantly recording. And so somebody's in there and they're like, man, I'd like to kill that DA. Well, that's conspiracy. And so they'll wait and like, oh, you're about to get out. And like, they'll literally start walking out like, stop.
yeah.
Oh, God.
Remember that thing you said about conspiracy? Let's play that back for you.
Oh,
Or
God.
what you said about killing the DA? Well, that's, you're going away again. You're going back to trial. That happened a lot.
But it's also...
Don't ever talk.
They put guys in your cell to get you talking about.
Oh yeah, that happened. That happened right away. That happened right away.
Oh, they put
They're
informants?
trying to get you to incriminate yourself deeper constantly. It's like a fun game.
What a fun game. What a fun game. To serve and protect. Incriminate you deeper.
Well, I had as Quentin will confirm, I have my authority issues. I always have. I always have. I'm suspicious of anyone in power, and
You should be.
yeah,
It's intoxicating.
Maybe like this. Okay, so when Roger.
Man, I like this guy. This guy, Roger, seems to have evened out Quentin Tarantino because Quentin Tarantino went from we need to be the president when talking about the election with Bill Maher to talking about J6ers saying that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Real calm. I don't know what changed. I was really expecting this version of Quentin Tarantino. Here, check this out.
Year
Right.
to set your case. I think there's just all about winning the election, all right? And then the easiest path to winning the election, look, you can talk about maybe she should have had more guts about this or that and the other, but we're the president.
Right.
And Trump's not the president, and we're the president, and now it's going to be about this. But this is about winning. What most people don't give the Democrats enough credit for, all right, but we give the Republicans credit for. It's like, no, sometimes it's just about winning. And it doesn't matter how we look
Right.
at this moment. It's about winning.
Right.
This is about winning.
Yep. No, it is.
It's
No.
a mad dash, and she is running, and she's not stopping to
No.
stumble.
And you know what?
And there's nothing wrong with
I-
stopping this. I'm going to vote for her anyway, no matter what she says in a stupid interview.
Exactly.
So don't shut up.
You're right. I couldn't be more on that page.
I was expecting that version of Quentin Tarantino when they were talking about anything involving Trump or even adjacent to Trump at all. That's what I was expecting to see. You know, in that clip, he was fighting for his life there. He was fighting like, I've been to 10 Diddy parties. Do you understand? I have been to 10 of them. I stay till 5 a.m. I need Kamala to win this thing. We need to be president. How'd that go for you? Oh man. I really do wish that he let that side of himself out so Joe could just school him. But I think he kind of read the room. He knows what's up with Joe Rogan. He's probably been seeing everything that all of us have been seeing in regards to Joe Rogan, Trump, and all that stuff. So he probably was like, I'm just gonna lay low. Also, his friend was in jail and is completely like, no, you know, everything that's going on with the J6ers is wrong. So I guess this kind of evened him out a little bit. Really good to see. One shocking thing I have to say, you know, aside from the J6ers, you know, he was talking about them trying to incriminate you deeper, and he said it happens a lot. That's crazy. I mean, just about, you know, I'm not like a bleeding heart liberal, but tell the guy when it happens. Just be like, you're staying in jail for longer because of what you said here 10 minutes ago. Like, that's it. But to have him walking out and stop him, that's crazy. That is absolutely mental torture. And another thing that he said, we became a culture of smashing things. So, you know, what would you expect other than when people are upset about the election to go and smash some things? Kind of a good point, you know? I mean, I've heard of 2 people who were involved in the BLM riots being arrested. And one of them went to jail for, I believe, it was a year. It was a year, and they probably got time served from the time they were arrested up until they were sentenced. So probably less than a year. I've heard of 2 of those instances. There was thousands of people involved, tens of thousands. There's video of it. There's video that you can play. People died, like actually died. Not like, oh, you know, he was involved and he died months later. No, not like that. Like there was a black ex-police officer, lieutenant, I believe, that died defending a store. Like there was people that died within that whole thing. So I don't know. We were a culture of smashing, but you know, and just the fact that he said that makes a lot of sense when he's talking about the J6ers, that threw me off. I was like, oh man, wow. And then he said even his dad. Oh, this is about the J6er. Sorry, the Capitol police officer who did pass away, sadly, but he didn't pass away due to what happened that day. It's very sad that they politicized his death the way they did, because even his dad was like, oh, he died because of that whole thing. And it's just not true, you know? Do send condolences, of course. It's sad when anybody passes away who's just, you know, just an officer and just doing their thing. My pen is literally falling apart as I'm talking. Let's move on to the Trump clips here. I guess that's my sign to move on. You know, my pen just starts falling apart. This is what Trump said, and this is who he thinks should actually be in jail. Check this out.
Some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, you know, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, you know, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it.
Well,
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee.
We're going to...
For what they did,
Yeah.
honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think
should
everybody
go to
on
jail.
anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and
No,
your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that,
on
it carries
strengthening the
weight,
law.
though. You know, you've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember, unselect committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, and after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it. Wait, and they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
If you
doing
do
that.
that in a civil case, you go to jail.
You know they deny doing that, and officials say that the order never came in for
They
the
put
National
out
Guard.
a statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote
this.
in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about
It's
January
amazing.
6th.
I wish you could be you have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you, they deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm just saying they deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen, if I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me. They have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because it was so bad, the only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Some of the
He's the best. He's the best, man. He's the best. He says BS in an interview, just like a gangster. You'd have so much potential. Even she laughed at that part. And he's right. He's right. Because you know what? She's MSNBC. She's one of those, obviously, I get it, talking head. She's one of the bad guys. But she actually does good interviews. And I've only seen her interview Trump. She does good interviews with Trump. But if she was just not biased, she would be a killer interviewer. She would be amazing. But because she has this bias, it kind of makes her reel herself in such an odd way. He did say something that was pretty crazy, and she did kind of shrug it off. But if she wasn't biased, she could just go deeper into that. But she can't demonize Liz Cheney and all the people on the left. She can't do that. She knows that. So she's like, let me just pull back and let me ask you something else that can make you look bad. Let's keep it there. And when you got to do that in an interview, it's going to fall flat. It's sad. It's really sad. She actually does have major potential. Major potential. All right, let's move on to the next thing that Trump said in regards to the January 6ers. Is this the proper minute? I believe it is. Let's go.
They burned it down. Nothing happened to anybody.
I just want to...
And yet these people have been in jail, and I hear the jail is a hellhole. They've done reports, and you would say that's true. They've done reports. This is the most disgusting, filthy place. These people are living in hell.
Let me just...
And I think it's very unfair.
But
most likely I'll do it very quickly.
Very quickly. Okay, but some of them, 169 of them, have pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers.
Because they had no choice.
900 pleaded guilty to other crimes. They're also going to be eligible for a pardon from you?
Listen, it's a very tough system. Do you know almost nobody... I saw people that didn't even go into the building and they were convicted. And you had the police saying, come on in, come on in. I mean, the police are saying, come on in, everybody, come on in. they had people, you have a lot of cameras. They don't want to release the tapes.
So, but you're going to consider pardoning even those who've pleaded guilty to crimes, including assaulting police
Well,
officers?
sometimes they say, here's your choice.
You're not ruling it out.
Look, I know the system. The system's a very corrupt system. They say to a guy, you're going to go to jail for 2 years or for 30 years. And these guys are looking, their whole lives have been destroyed. For 2 years, they've been destroyed. But the system is a very nasty system.
Okay. Let's
Yeah,
move
I'm going to
on.
look at everything. We're going to look at individual
Everyone.
cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking
Going
first
to issue
day.
these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
By the way, they've been in there for years. And they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Let's talk about your cabinet picks. I know we started off talking about.
Man, if you're ever confused on why people love Trump, man, that's why. That's why. Those two clips right there, he's talking about locking up politicians and letting go protesters. Man, patriots. Absolutely amazing. I absolutely love that, man. That's great. That's great to hear. First day, he wants to get as many of them out as he can. And it seems like it's so funny because she's talking like it's very cut and dry. He's actually talking about the J6ers with compassion, with these prisoners with compassion. Where he's like they're in this filthy place. Like, gotta get them out. Like, it's been 2 years. The guy on Roger, who's sitting with Joe Rogan, he was talking about 1,000 days. Like, that's a long time to not know what's going on. And it's crazy that in this situation, the only way they were going to get out was Trump winning the election. That's it. There was no other way these guys were getting out. There's no other way. They're just holding them. They're not telling them anything. Some of them are getting decades. Like, some of them are just years. Some of them have no idea what kind of time they're going to get. They don't even know if they've served time. It's just, man, it's crazy to be in there for a year and a half, not knowing when you're going to get out. If you were in for a year and a half and you knew, it's a different feeling than if you're in for a year and a half and you don't know. Like, every day is like, what's going on? Can anybody tell me? And they're just refusing to tell you. That's like a nightmare, man. Absolute nightmare. Can't wait to see those people get released. That's going to be a very touching moment in U.S. history. I could tell you that much. The left is going to be very angry about it. They're going to scream. They're going to shout. BLM's probably going to activate and be like, this is racist. This is racist. White people leaving a prison. They should stay for life. There's going to be all sorts of stuff like that. But that's what's going on with the J6ers and Trump. Very good to hear. And just interesting conversation altogether that Joe Rogan had with these two. Again, Tarantino didn't go on any crazy political rants, but, I was thinking as I was making this episode, I was like, I've always worked like forklift jobs, and cherry picker and Raymond reaches and all sorts of stuff like that. Just order picking and stuff like that, warehousing, moving racks around, working in freezers and stuff. And this would be one of those episodes that you could just listen to. It's just two guys with Joe Rogan who are really passionate about something, and they're talking about it with a ton of passion, a ton of conviction, and they've actually excelled at the thing they're talking about. It's interesting. If you're into movies, not even if you're in the movies. If you're in the movies, great, you're going to love this. But if you're someone who feels like they're not doing the thing that they feel called to do, and they're being lulled to sleep by a more monotonous job that they have, this is a great podcast to listen to, because Quentin Tarantino actually talks about that when he worked at a video store. And Joe Rogan talks about that as well in regards to comedians. And it's just a very interesting conversation where they just talk about having to believe in yourself and having to just take those steps and not know what happens. And whatever it is that you want to do, you have to be around those people so you can just start getting in the mix of things. It's a very interesting conversation. I haven't been out to do a set in a while, 5-minute set, open mics and stuff like that, because that's the level I'm at. People are asking me like where I perform. It's like, bro, I'm an open micer right now. I'm obviously going to start a show and everything, for people who want to come, but I haven't done one in a while, and since I got back to Austin, in fact. And this episode actually inspired me. And I was like, I gotta just take whatever dusty set that I have. I have a couple on I have a couple of sets on trans people and being black and the whole thing around that. I have this bit where I'm talking about how I understand how old white guys feel. Like back in the day, it was the old white guy who people would point at. And now I'm at a point because of that movement where I feel like the old white guy, where I just don't understand why I can't say certain words. And what do you mean I can't say it? They say it all the time. I can't say it. I just got this whole thing I got to work out. But this inspired me to go and work on that material. Anyways, guys, just wanted to bring you this information. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.